Hello, listeners. You have tuned in to Money and Me, and I'm your host, Abhirab Bhattacharya, and I welcome you to our new session. For this show today, we have a very interesting personality who has joined us. He began coding from when he was just 8 years old, and after graduating in computer science, this gentleman founded his own company before shortly later joining Bitfinex Exchange, a name you definitely have heard of. Of course, he became the CTO of Bitfinex shortly later in March 2015 and soon became Tether CTO as well. By now, you might have guessed whom I'm talking about, but let's just proceed to the show directly. And please join me in welcoming Paolo to the show. Hi there.
Hey, thank you very much for having me here today. It's an honor. Thank you.
Paolo, just tell us, before I start with the questions, you began coding at 8 years old. I mean, that's just incredible. I remember when I was 8 years old, I had my PC in front of me. And I used to play games all the time, and that was the extent. So tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, I was living in countryside in my area, so there was I didn't have any friends nearby, and the only thing that I could do is play soccer outside and coding, because I didn't have many games, and when I was playing the few games that I had, I was always thinking, I want to create my own games. So I started the coding just in order to create my own games, and then it grew as a passion, and then went to computer science. Kept working and coding, and till today, although I'm a CTO of two companies, I try to spend most of my time in coding. I just love that. It's like, I feel like it's a mix between art and creativity.
Definitely. Did you end up making any games though, like you had hoped so?
I did. I was quite late. I built a game that was called Worldwide. That is online massive multiplayer browser game. So it's like Risk, but you play in a real map, and you can move your tanks and your soldiers, and you basically start from a real city, like you can take over Rome, and then you build your small army there, and you try to conquer nearby cities and the world. So it was quite cool. We had like 5,000-10,000 users, and then I decided to sell it.
I see. But wow, fascinating. I mean, that's incredible.
It was a side project just because I arrived at university, and everyone was playing at this game called O Game. That was a battleship game, browser game, and I was seeing everyone that was actually playing that game, and I said, well, I can create a bot that win always that game. So I created that bot, and then the creators of O Game threatened me to me a little bit, and then I decided, okay, now I will do my own game, and so I created my own game and got my little community.
That's splendid. All right. Okay. Let's even though this is really fascinating to hear, let's hear about your exploits further into your life. When you joined Bitfinex, for example. So when you joined Bitfinex, I believe it was around 2014, correct, Paolo?
Late 2014, yes, and then I became CTO in mid 2016.
Right. So the question I have to you is, when you joined Bitfinex, it was, of course, relatively new exchange back then, because Bitfinex was formed around 2013. And the time you joined, which was around 2016, like you say, Bitcoin had begun growing into the massive project that it later became. So those were very interesting times to run an exchange. So can you tell us about what Bitfinex was like in those first initial years?
So Bitfinex was already, I would say, an advanced platform, although it was not technically as ready as it is today, right? So Bitfinex started in 2012 and was one of the first exchanges, if not the first exchange, to offer margin trading. So instead of only being able to buy and sell Bitcoin, you could go long and also short Bitcoin on margin. and introduced one of its still unique features, that is the peer-to-peer lending platform. So in 2014, Bitfinex had already many users, was already a well-established platform, but had some technical challenges, right? So the matching engine was not that fast. So in big market moves was always lagging, or was not accepting user orders as fast as it should. So that was actually the reason why I was asked to help Bitfinex in the first place. That was trying to improve the matching engine and the platform reliability in order to support next wave of users.
Right. And how did you get involved with Bitfinex? Like, did they reach out to you, or were you the one who approached them?
No, I had the luck to meet Giancarlo, Bitfinex CFO in London. We started talking. I was already fascinated by Bitcoin. My expertise is in parallel computing and distributed applications. So I said, well, maybe I could help you. And I started working part-time because I had my own company in London. And I just took this as a opportunity to work and see how a crypto company was set up, and then it grew over time. 1 hour per day becomes 2, then 3, then 4, then 16.
But then, of course, you did not stop there, because you also became the CTO of Tether soon later, right?
Yeah, in 2017, late 2017, became the CTO there. I brought my expertise in security and blockchain development. So, one of the critical tasks of Tether is making sure that when we deploy on a blockchain, it remains secure. Everything is done properly. The smart contracts are built in a solid way, and so on. So I took over that aspect, and since then we started deploying Tether on multiple blockchains. Also brought a bit the strategy of supporting multiple blockchains in order to gain traction on different communities, because the blockchain world is a little bit fragmented. So I thought, okay, what if Tether could be the common denominator across all these different blockchains?
And that brings me to my next question. So Tether recently announced that it would become the first stablecoin to launch on the Solana blockchain. And USDT holders will be able to exchange their crypto at speeds greater than 50,000 transactions per second at a very cheap cost as well. So compare this to Bitcoin's transaction speed and Visa's transaction speed, which is 7 and 24,000 respectively. How revolutionary is this rapid increase in the transaction speeds that Tether will now achieve in Solana?
So that's a really good point, right? So I want to go back to the concept of communities, right? So and why Tether is launching on multiple blockchains. Tether is launching on multiple blockchains because, as I said, blockchains have their own communities. It's like a little bit like religions, right? So so Tether was launched on Ethereum, Tron, now Solana, before that EOS, Algorand, and so on. So each one of these blockchain has its own project. So more than the speed, and that is Solana has a really high speed, is we see a lot of growth in Solana ecosystem, right? So they have Serum, they have multiple projects there. We wanted to capitalize on that fast growth of their ecosystem. So we thought, and we believe that this is a really good strategical move. I think that when you compare Solana, that has a really high throughput in terms of transaction, with Bitcoin, and for Bitcoin, the comparison would be with OmniLayer, that is blockchain that is based on it's using Bitcoin as a main chain. Definitely, there is a clear speed difference. At the same time, there is also a big difference in, I would say, in what you can call decentralization aspect, right? So because when one is relying on Bitcoin in terms for its security, and the other one has a different model with validators and so on. So they have two different models, and they for which one can achieve how much higher throughputs, and the other one is has a more decentralized and I believe solid consensus. But so Tether is moving for this reason in order to support multiple ecosystems, multiple blockchains and multiple communities. Tether is deciding to support a multiple blockchain. So it's not just about speed. So speed comparison is good, but also is about ecosystem support.
So speaking of multiple ecosystems, so Tether is basically in all the major blockchains at the moment. Of course, you're all expanding too. Tell us what might be the effects of this in DeFi. Like, can you see Tether grow in DeFi? And personally, do you think DeFi can be the next financial success story?
So DeFi is definitely an astonishing new sector. So DeFi really we have seen huge adoption or huge new traction in DeFi projects since mid 2020. Tether grew with the DeFi ecosystem. Of course, Tether started to be much more popular on centralized exchanges because that was what made the core of Tether in from 2017 till today. Then after that, of course, we started focusing on DeFi, and we have seen that DeFi is taking Tether more and more as its trusted stablecoin. We have seen recently a big surge in Curve. On the Curve protocol, we are discussing with different EVM-based blockchains like Phantom and so on in order to make sure that Tether could be part of their ecosystem as well. So the beauty of DeFi is that also you can see all these bridges that are created across the different blockchains, especially if they are EVM compatible. So Tether with its presence on all the major blockchains can easily be migrated to all these other blockchains that are compatible with EVM, and that is what is making Tether the most used blockchain, most used stablecoin also on chain, because from the stats you can clearly see that it defeats the competition by a big factor.
Right. Speaking of that, Tether's market cap crossed $60 billion just last month, nearly double of what it was a couple of months back. Can you tell us, according to you, what has led to this rapid increase in the market cap of Tether? And is this a sign of the growing demand for the stablecoin?
So it is a sign of maturity of the entire crypto ecosystem, right? So Tether grew from $5 billion in 2020, early 2020, to 63 just after 1 year. The reason is that we have seen a massive interest from hedge funds. We can think about really big hedge funds, companies, even top 500 companies in Bitcoin and in crypto in general. So you have to think that in order to buy crypto, you have first to, of course, to send fiat, right? And if you send fiat, the Tether is much popular, much more used, and much more liquid on exchanges, on crypto exchanges than fiat, right? So the most liquid pairs are Tether pairs. So in order to participate, to enter in the crypto markets, OTC desks that were buying on behalf of big funds or trading firms, high frequency traders, they all moved to Tether. You can see on Binance, on Huobi, OKX. Now even Coinbase listed Tether. Bitstamp listed Tether. I believe that there is almost no important exchange that does not have Tether nowadays. So for OTC desks and trading firms, it just makes sense to take fiat, convert in Tether, and then deploy trading strategies on multiple exchanges in parallel through Tether.
Right. With plenty of investors left worried about the crypto volatility in the markets, which saw BTC hovering around 30,000 US dollars recently, do you believe stable coins will be picked over coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum when it comes to making payments? So, not in terms of investments, but purely from the basis of payments, do you think stable coins like Tether have a huge advantage over BTC and Ether?
So, Bitcoin is like my baby, right? So, I think that Tether is going to be, and I don't have the presumption of thinking that Tether is better than Bitcoin myself, right? So I believe that they had two different use cases. Bitcoin is a really great store of value. Of course, it's with its volatility, it makes a little bit harder in this moment to predict. So if you have to make payments, right? So you want to make sure that you can use an asset that maintains the price of, a stable price. So that is why we created Tether. I think that in the future, maybe Bitcoin can be more and more used for payments. So I believe that eventually the world can, or regions or countries, as we are seeing with El Salvador, can live on crypto, can live on Bitcoin itself. Tether offers an alternative, right? Maybe you have your Bitcoins and you can transform the part that you need for immediate payments or for medium-term payments in Tethers, so that you can, you can hedge yourself. You can avoid to be subject to high volatility. So I'm really honest. I'm not advocating that Tether is much better than Bitcoin. It's just something that is complementary to Bitcoin.
Right. Speaking of which, you mentioned El Salvador legalizing Bitcoin. Of course, that was big news, and a lot of us were left excited. But that also brings the question: if Bitcoin can be legalized by country, can Tether be the next coin or the next crypto or the next stable coin, in this matter of fact, that can be legalized by a country? Do you think that's possible, or are there certain challenges to it?
So that's a good question, right? So the entire world is subject to many different regulatory regimes. We have seen talks about CBDCs. We have seen countries legalizing Bitcoin as a legal tender. So I think that everything is possible. I think that Tether is growing vastly used, for example, Latin America and Asia, and we are seeing bigger adoption in Europe and so on. So I think that the Tether will keep watching and working with the regulators, and we will always do its best in order to be compliant with all the regulations, so that together we can arrive to a world that will make digital assets something that is easy to use for the masses.
So, do you believe that the future of payments is going to be digital? Can you see a world where fiat has been replaced, if not by crypto, then by at least by CBDCs or stablecoins?
I think that makes sense, right? So nowadays the control over payments is basically detained by two credit card companies, and one of the things that crypto brings in general is the concept of programmable money, right? So you can program smart contracts to act to define certain actions and to complete certain actions upon certain events, right? So that is something that and all that in a transparent way. So that was something that was not possible in a closed financial world, right? So I believe that eventually, with the growth of understanding on the world population about finance, because something that, thanks to Bitcoin, many more people are trying to understand finance. Not that they are extreme super experts, but still they are trying to dig a little bit deeper and so on, right? So then eventually, e-commerces, merchants can start accepting stable coins also because and crypto in general, because they have much lower transaction fees. So credit cards have still pretty high transaction fees because there is a huge structure behind their network. And I believe that technology in general can still maintain the same levels of compliance, but reducing the cost, reducing the complexity, and allowing more freedom of choice to the merchants and to people and to the final users.
Right. Steering the conversation back to Bitfinex for a minute. So Bitfinex constantly finds itself in the top 5 global exchanges. It's a very well-known crypto exchange. So with that, of course, comes a lot of responsibility to maintain not just your ranking, but also your customer base. So can you tell us about some of the consistent challenges that you and your development team face when it comes to assuring that the exchange runs smoothly without any bugs or any problems coming up?
So, that is when I hire developers, but when we hire anyone in the company, the really the first thing that we tell them is that we, apart hiring only people that are professional or that they want or they have a clear objective of becoming professionals, because we really care about also having people growing the company. So that is something quite important. The first thing that we tell them is, look, we are an exchange. We are here from since 2012, and the most important thing for us is to repay back the trust that our customers are placing in us. Right, our customers can deposit $1, $100, 1 million, 10 million is not important. Every one of our customers is important, is trusting us. So the best thing that we can do is repay back that trust, providing them the best service possible. So when we create a feature, that feature has to be extremely solid, has to be well designed, well architected, so that if we have 10 users or 1 million users or 10 million users, that the reliability of that feature will not change. So that is something that we, the management team, always brought in the company as one of the key factors. So I believe that is the secret of our success, right? So if you hear people talking always about Bitfinex and in terms of quality of the trading engine, the platform, the customer support, that is because we really do care. We are not here to make an extra buck. We are here to give back and to contribute to the crypto markets, to this revolution.
Right. And, just one more year and you will complete 10 years. Bitfinex will be an exchange for 10 years. So that's a big milestone right there. So how do you feel about that this exchange has been running for so many years and many more years to come after that? What does this tell you about the vision of Bitfinex?
Well, for myself personally, I feel extremely lucky because I believe that these type of revolutions that we are all part of can come, once in 100 years, right? So being able to join early, to working with great people, not just in Bitfinex, but this type of work lets you know many people of talent, people that have visions, philosophy. So I think that is the best thing. So these 10 years, and I joined Bitfinex just 2 years after it was born, made me realize how beautiful can be the word, right? And I believe that working with these great teams is the best achievement that someone can ever have.
Right. So for the final question of our interview, Paolo, I want to ask you to tell us about some of the most exciting changes or exciting updates that are coming to Tether and Bitfinex, something that you are very much looking forward to.
So when it comes to Bitfinex, I would say that we have some interesting new features, especially related to security tokens. Don't let me spoiler too much, but that's something that you will see pretty soon. And when it comes to Tether, I would say that we are going to focus on more and more on additional currencies starting from this year. You have seen Tether Gold. There is a Tether Euro that is probably going to ramp up this year. So that will be our big focus, and it's quite exciting. Especially Tether Gold is a beautiful product.
Can you tell us a little bit about Tether Gold since you mentioned it?
Sure. I think so. Tether Gold is a representation. So one Tether Gold token is a representation of 1 ounce of gold. So Tether Gold has 1 ounce of gold for each of each Tether Gold tokens issued. All the gold is maintained and stored securely in Switzerland. And the beauty of Tether Gold, compared to all the competitors, is that you can actually, if you buy, and it's quite expensive, right? But if you buy a full gold bar for around 400 ounces, you can actually redeem it in Switzerland. So that is something that no other competitor is doing, to my knowledge, and it's something that shows how, gives still people freedom of choice. And so from one side, you have the beauty of having a token that is gold-based. At the same time, you can always say, okay, I really want my gold. I want to feel that gold. I want to touch the gold. And then now you can redeem it. You can redeem it. So physically, you can redeem it only in Switzerland, but because just shipping globally, the gold is quite hard, right? But so, if you live abroad, you complete the KYC, AML papers, and then you can get it shipped to a Swiss location, and then from there you can ship it anywhere accordingly to the different regulation and legislations.
So that's pretty good for investments, right? I mean, people always look at gold as a good investment option, and now they can just get Tether Gold and keep it there.
Yeah, and you can trade it, for example, on Bitfinex against BTC, right? So you have the physical gold and the digital gold that can be traded one against the other. So it's quite interesting, I believe.
So I can see what you guys are doing. You're slowly entering into all the systems. You're giving a lot of options to your customers, I must say. So not only is it multiple blockchains, but I can also see you're moving towards multiple investment options.
Exactly. So it's all, I like to think that we started from crypto, and we are bringing crypto to mainstream, right? So we are seeing some exchanges that like CME that started mainstream and then are trying to tap into crypto with futures and things like that. We are doing the opposite. We started from pure Bitcoin, and we are expanding our operations on also mainstream finance.
Right, Paolo, thank you so much for your time and for this valuable, for the valuable comments that you gave us. Any closing comments before we end the interview?
I really thank you for the time today. It was a really nice chat. So thank you, Abu.
Thank you, Paolo.
And thank you, CoinRepublic.
Thank you very much.